It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quanell X and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
The house, literally the neighbors next door, the house of the address that I just gave you, the 273, there is literally a whole domestic dispute going on. There's like 7 guys that live in this house.
What's your name?
I'm sorry, what is my name?
Okay. Okay. Tell me exactly what happened.
Okay, so I'm the neighborhood watch, and basically, like I said, these guys they're like selling drugs in and out of the house. All you see is guys coming in and out of the house with guns and stuff. They holding guns in the air, and then it's like, I'm not sure if they're pimping, but it's the situation that's going on right now. This girl doesn't have on any clothes. They threw her outside. He was fighting the girl. He literally fought the girl. I'm not sure what they was fighting over, if they was fighting over drugs. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like they were fighting over drugs. And then they started shooting. She had someone come over there, and they started shooting.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Quanell, what we were listening to right there was audio recording of Atlanta dispatch, a police call from a woman that identified herself as a neighborhood watch. It is now suspected to be part of the swatting epidemic, where people are falsely calling 911, and we've seen it targeting conservative loud voices on social media and conservative voices in the media, but it is going elsewhere. And this was BMG artist, a young scooter, who was ultimately lost his life. Well, let's listen. I think we had the press conference. Young scooter lost his life as a result of this swatting incident, but not at the hands of law enforcement, which is what we've seen in the past, where police mistakenly shoot someone who they think they're involved in a hostage situation like this one. That didn't happen here. Can we play that clip, Matt?
Two events this evening. The first being from the 200 block of William Nye Drive in Zone 3. Officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the location. Once officers arrived, they knocked on the door. A male opened the door and immediately shut the door on the officers. The officers then established a perimeter. During the process of establishing the perimeter, 2 males fled out of the rear of the house. 1 male returned back into the house. The other male jumped 2 fences as he was fleeing. When officers located him on the other side of the fence, he appeared to have suffered an injury to his leg. Officers rendered aid, and he was transported to Grady Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased.
So I have a couple of takeaways from this, Quanell. So a young scooter apparently was fleeing the house, jumped the fence, caught his femoral artery. Obviously, if you cut that, you bleed to death very quickly. Horrible death, and it's heartbreaking. But here are a few I have 3 takeaways, right? One, if someone calls law enforcement with a fake 911 call with the intent of causing harm to the target of their call, I think and someone ends up dying, I think they should be prosecuted for felony murder. If someone doesn't end up dying, whatever happens, so like if weapons are drawn, whatever, a conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, I think people who swat people need to go to prison. That's 1. 2, when the cops bang on your door, right? You don't want to waive your constitutional rights and say, hey, come into my house, whatever. You want to give your attorney something to work with if they find contraband. But slamming the door on law enforcement only exacerbates the situation, and it's not a good idea, right? You're not compelled to open the door, but slamming it instead of having a conversation, especially when they weren't doing anything wrong, bad idea. It's followed by running from the police especially when you haven't done anything wrong, is just foolish. And there is never a positive outcome. While I'm not blaming young Scooter, had he not fled on foot, he would have not injured himself in this unusual way. It must have been a security fence that was sharp. It's all heartbreaking. But at the end of the day, it's all to blame for the person that made the fake 911 call, and they should go to prison.
You know, these fake swatting calls are happening all over America, and many people, including political figures and entertainment figures, have been the victims of these calls. Thank God, in many of these cases, lives are not lost, but in some cases, law enforcement have used excessive use of force and deadly weapons because they're believing what the caller, the 911 caller, is stating in the call. That person should be locked up. Whoever that black woman was, I heard her voice. That was a sister from the hood. She wasn't no damn neighborhood watch. She was a sister from the hood. That wasn't no Karen. That was a sister. And I really hope and pray that this young brother Scooter's family can really survive this, rally behind one another, pull themselves together, and keep his legacy moving forward. Now, you asked, why would he run? First of all, he had several choices. He wasn't breaking any laws. He wasn't doing anything wrong. What if he decided to shoot back at him? And he wasn't breaking no laws. You got men running up to your door, and God forbid the language they might have been using when they was running up to those doors, because the language they use in the hood to address black and brown suspects is a totally night and day language they use against white folk when they go to their front doors. The way they knock on our doors is different from how they knock on your doors. So this young man could have used deadly force to protect his own home because he hadn't done anything wrong. The police were coming at him for something he did not do. Or the young man could have chose to remain there and took a real serious AA whooping because the police believe in a 911 caller, they gonna come with deadly force to make sure that they apprehend some dangerous suspects with guns alleging shooting is taking place. Or he could run, he could flee from that, being afraid of what may happen to him. He didn't really do anything wrong. It's unfortunate he lost his life in a tragic accident.
He killed himself. He literally
That's a tragic
lost
accident.
his life.
That's not doing something wrong. That's a tragic accident.
Right, but I don't want him to die, right? See, that's the thing. You're saying, oh, well, they knock on your door different. They're not knocking on your door in your wealthy suburban gated neighborhood
Charles,
different than they're knocking
Charles,
on mine. You're lying to the audience. I live in the city.
Let's be straight,
right?
Charles.
You're lying.
Let's be straight,
but
Charles.
the truth is,
I said black people doors. I said black
you
people
said my
doors.
door.
And let me.
You're
I said black
your
people
door.
doors. I said they don't knock on our door.
Oh yeah, your
like
door.
They knock on yours.
And
see, Charles,
that's
let
the
me tell you
lie
something,
that you
man.
lead with.
Let me tell you something, Charles.
I want young black men to emerge safely and alive from encounters with the police.
They have
the Atlanta
but why
police
so many black
is
men
overwhelmingly
who are
black.
died with encounters with police?
Okay.
Why so many black men who are unarmed, committed no crimes, died at the hands of police?
Let's
Charles.
talk about that.
He had a right to flee.
He
wasn't
not saying
committing
he
a crime.
didn't have a right
he wasn't
to
doing
flee.
anything wrong,
I'm
Charles.
saying it was a bad idea.
The police had a bad call. Yeah. So why are we blaming him for his death? Quit blaming that young brother for his death. Well, he's the victim also, Charles.
Again, I led with the woman should go to prison for making
But you make it look like he did something
no,
wrong, and you go, he killed himself. He didn't kill himself. He died in a tragic accident.
What I want is people to emerge safely from police encounters. What you want is just say, oh, they treat whitey so much better, just so you can maintain this racial grievance and hate.
People have a different perception of law enforcement coming to their front doors than white people have, than cops coming to theirs.
Again,
Charles,
you want to talk about
you've had very high-profile blacks that have had police come to the home under false assumptions, arrest them, throw them to the ground, put knees in their necks and their backs, Charles. Black folk have lived that reality in America for hundreds of years.
Have you missed?
He did not commit a crime. So stop saying he killed himself.
Well, he did by climbing the fence. He cut himself.
He died from a tragic accident, Charles.
So again, here's the thing. When you talk about black folks have experienced this, this swatting epidemic has been largely directed at white conservatives, and we have had one killed, and we have had a number of people that have been held at gunpoint at their own front doors. White people, okay? So when you say it doesn't happen to white people, it's just you lying. No, you said it was different. You were lying.
No.
Every word out of your mouth was a lie to generate racial grievance.
White neighborhoods is different
as a
from how they
human
knock
being,
on our doors.
not as a white man
and the FBI
or a black man,
concluded
but
the
as
same
a
results
human
in their
being.
investigation
What
of
I
police
want
departments
is
around
everybody,
America.
when they encounter aggressive law enforcement,
cops treat white folks the same way they treat black people. That's a damn lie.
When you're done.
That's absolute damn lie, Charles.
I didn't say that. But
even the
let me know.
FBI and Department of Justice have ruled police department after department have been found for violating and targeting African Americans unjustly, whether it be in Florida, whether it be in Minnesota, whether it be in Texas, whether it be in Georgia. Countless police departments have been found to racially profile and treat black people different, especially when they're placing them under arrest. Charles, he ran out of fear. But guess what, though? We've seen how cops approach black people, even in simple traffic stops where they're unarmed, committing no crime, and they come up dead because that over-aggressive a way they approach the vehicle. Even we just debated a story like that, Charles, about how they approach black people, even in simple, basic traffic stops.
Are you ever going to finish? You started by interrupting me, and I just gave up. And you're just blathering on, and you're lying.
You always talk long.
Let me talk. Okay, so the truth is that my concern is about people successfully navigating encounters with law enforcement. You want to talk about videos that we see video after anecdote of police officers walking up to cars to issue a ticket, right, and getting screamed and yelled at and called all sort of names, right? Are there bad cops? Yes, right? And are there violent cops? Yes. But what did we have last year? Like 67 cops ambushed and shot, right? When you look at the numbers of police officers killing unarmed people, they actually kill a larger number of unarmed white people and a larger percentage, which is weird, right? Because when you look at the other crime statistics. So everything you're saying is this imagined racial grievance that's taking data from 20 years ago when we did have horrible issues with driving while black, when we didn't have enough black Americans in leadership positions in law enforcement. That's not the case in Atlanta. This is just you lying to create racial grievance.
The cops were not wrong in this case.
We need people
the young man was not wrong in this case.
Yeah, well, by running, he put himself in a dangerous situation.
But instead of talking about how to successfully
deal with the police, open the door, say we don't have a problem, don't waive your rights, and you leave alive. And we have so many incidents where young black men are dying unnecessarily for no reason. I don't know why he was running there.
Cops like that?
Okay, but I'm not blaming the
that they've
police.
seen and had.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we watched a video of Wendy Williams, one of our legendary talk show hosts, daytime talk show hosts in America, who has now been put under conservatorship, so where she no longer has freedom to make any decisions on her own. She's living in a facility that's pretty much a lockdown facility, and she's even said in several interviews she's being allowed to participate secretly in. She's publicly stated she's living like a hostage. Nothing is wrong with her, that she is competent, that she is lucid, and that she can handle her own affairs. And there was a protest in front of the facility in support of Wendy Williams gaining and winning her freedom. And she was waving to the protesters, thanking them for their support. Charles, this is a tragic story. It really is. Because I too believe when I first heard these reports maybe 2 years ago, that at least the in-depth information that was coming out about her condition, that Wendy was almost in a canatotic state. But that canatotic state does not exist with Wendy Williams. I've listened to the interviews, 2 of them, and she sounds very fluid, she sounds very competent, and she sounds like she's very aware of what's going on in her life. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, he said this: He said, there's no such thing as a no good woman. Wherever you find a no good woman, she was made that way by a no good man. All of these mental, psychological, traumatic experiences that she's gone through and exhibited, all, in my opinion, began when her husband did this woman absolutely dirty. The things he did to Wendy Williams, I believe, mentally, psychologically broke her, even to the point of one of his alleged male lovers was attempting to financially extort Wendy Williams. And yet, here it is, a man she loves, she's given her heart to, her wealth also too has betrayed her like that. That would make any woman mentally snap. But I believe she's competent and she should be free, because that video makes it look like a brother that's in prison waving to family members outside.
You know, this Wendy Williams kind of unraveling that people witnessed over the last decade has been somewhat heartbreaking. And I'll be honest, I was never a viewer of her show, right? I was a Jerry Springer, Steve Harvey.
Oh, my Lord.
You know, those were the, if I'm going to walk a talk show, you know,
watching,
maybe Maury Povich just to see who the daddy
not
is,
the
right?
father.
Right? But, you know, Wendy always seemed like a very genuine, sincere person. And then all of a sudden she kind of, like I said, came unraveled and had a crazy-eyed appearance. It was largely attributed to, allegedly, and although I think she conceded it, I think there was some allegations of continued cocaine abuse and now a dementia diagnosis that can be downstream from drug use, and it's all heartbreaking. But I don't disagree with you that it all stems, you know, and I don't think it's necessarily gendered. I think a man can marry a bad woman, a woman can marry a bad man. Either way, it can have horrible consequences to a human being's life. And with Miss Williams, it appears that she was catfished into a relationship with a gay man who continued to have homosexual affairs. And I don't care if they're heterosexual or homosexual, whatever. That's their business. But affair after affair after
but
affair.
Don't lie about it.
That then kind of destroyed her internally and probably impacted her sobriety, right? When you have this kind of unraveling, when you have someone that has gotten sober, it's difficult to maintain. And we just watched this woman.
But the allegation was he introduced her to cocaine.
Right.
That was the allegation against him.
And we saw her financial empire unravel, her television empire unravel, and now she is basically being held. Now, I have read that she is doing very well, allegedly, on these mental acuity tests, and she is making a real effort to be released, and I think we hope to see that. But man, this is such a tragedy, and a tragedy for the African American media community.
It reminds you of
because
who?
she was a titan.
This case reminds you of who?
Who?
Britney Spears.
Yeah, Britney Spears, you got to look at it. Her parents played a role, and the question is, does someone who's generated this much money deserve to lose control of it
Free
because
Wendy.
they're making allegedly? Yeah, I mean, free Wendy, free Britney, free them all.
Stop all that and get some money.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
All right, let me explain that clip real quick, Clonell. We don't have a lot of time. That was a video that a woman put up. Her and her 3 friends were driving through Lake County, Florida, drinking, obviously, partying, going, I think it said 118 miles an hour, and the drive ended tragically with a single car accident that killed 3 people and left 1 critically injured. We have to take some time in this platform to talk about the bad and the good, and I don't want to call, because I don't know which one survived, I don't want to call them Face-Off F-Up of the day because it is a horrible tragedy, but the driver is at fault. And everyone partying in the car, it seems like, ratified this behavior. And we have to remember, one, there's no excuse to drink and drive in 2025. Uber, Lyft, call your mama, call the taxi, call whoever. But two, thank God it was just the people partying in the car and not a family driving home from the Waffle House late night breakfast or something. I mean, just such a horrible tragedy. Drinking and driving has to stop.
Charles, it is so sad that all of those young women lost their lives solely for the purpose of likes and clicks on social media. They were putting and posting this behavior in the vehicle on social media, wanting to be accepted and applauded and celebrated. But that ratchet behavior, that ignominious behavior, has now led to the death of innocent young women who also were playing a role in the entire process themselves. The driver drove the vehicle, but the conduct on the inside of the vehicle, everybody's responsible for that. It's sad, and I would hope and pray that we finally wake up. And losing, some of them may have been mothers. Now you may have children without a mother now. At what point are we going to stop using foolish behavior for likes and clicks on social media that's leading to the death of people and causing mothers to leave their children behind? This is tragic, it's sad, but social media has driven so many of us so damn crazy. It's pathetic,
parents need
man.
to have a real conversation with their kids, and adults need to start talking about the impact of dopamine addiction. The people, you know, you get this drug that releases in your brain that excites you and thrills you when you get attention on social media, and damn it, it's a real problem. And you combine that with one to exhibit this party culture, drinking and partying and just acting crazy. A tragedy, some parents lost their daughters. I hope no kids lost their parents.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.